Hello, Timon, and welcome back to our tutorial series on Google. And this is Google Drive. We're going to do a quick run through about all the features in here. I think that many of you have probably already been here. You've probably already been linked to files, but still, we'll go through a few of the new features that are kind of in this upgraded version of Drive. Okay, so the first thing to note is that we have a menu on the left-hand side. Okay, so the first thing to note is how do we get to Drive? You can type in drive.google.com. You can also, when you're logged in anywhere in Google, go to your hamburger menu or your menu, depending on whatever your terminology is. Click on it and then go to Drive. And then once we're in here, we have a menu on the left-hand side. You'll see this new space called Priority. This is kind of a recent addition, but it's all of the things you might want to add to a priority space that are going on right now. And these are things that I currently have opened recently, but you can basically, the way they're billing it is to create your own personal workspace by adding your most used files and things here. There are a few other ways they do this, so I'm not really sure where this came from. One of those other ways is starred, and you can star things that you want to easily find later. So use those two spaces as you will and as you want. The main space where all of your files really are at is Drive, is the My Drive area. And underneath here, you can create a folder structure that looks and feels a lot like what's going on most desktops these days. However, I usually don't use that. I actually go straight to the middle and we'll click folders. There's two different ways you can display this area, and that is as a list of things or as a grid of things. As you start to create more folders, accumulate more files, this space will become very crowded. And so maybe priority and starred will come in handy, but also this search area here is usually the first thing I'll go to. So if I can't find it easily in the My Drive, I'll go there. The other area you have here is shared with me. So if you can't find something that's been quote unquote shared with you, such as by another person, I've shared some other files with myself from other accounts that I have just so I could easily create a copy and then put it into the My Bishop Timon Drive. I can go to my shared with me area and see if there's anything else in there. Recent, of course, will do what you think it will, which is bring up the most recent files you've used, and then trash holds all of your deleted items. Now, you can drag and drop any kind of file type, really, into your Drive area for storage. You can do zip files, you can do whole folders of content, and you can do audio, video, images, all of those things. You can also come up to the top on the menu here, the top of the menu. You can create new folders from here. You can do file uploads from here if you choose to do it manually and not dragging and dropping. Also a whole folder upload, as I mentioned. Your main tools that you're using in here are docs, sheets, slides, and forms. However, you have access to your other Google Workspace tools in here as well. And these tools will create files that are then stored in your Google Drive. Even if you're elsewhere, so right before I did this tutorial, I'm doing this tutorial, I did the Google Meet tutorial. You would have seen me create a Jamboard in there. And that Jamboard file, before I just deleted it, ended up in my Google Drive. So even if you're at the Google Docs, you can go to docs.google.com and just work within the docs space. If you're in any one of these individual spaces or you're in other apps where you can create things, anything that's created will also be accessible via Google Drive. So let's take a look at some of these features. Docs is what you think it is. I'm just going to start out here on this file that's already created. It is much like Microsoft Word. There are some features that are similar. There are some features that are different. There are things that are missing from this space that are in Microsoft Word. Most impactfully for your students. That includes a lot of those reference tools. So if you're doing really any hardcore writing or they need to do references, it's a lot easier to do that in Word. But some cool features that they have are there's an automatic outline. When you start going and adding headings, you have something like a 74-page document. This outline becomes a lifesaver because you can easily pull it out and then navigate through your document. You have the ability to change the background color. The most common thing I do when I start up a new document is I'll change the margins to be a 1/2 of an inch versus an inch, which allows me to just have more room to write. And then you can easily from here make copies. You can add a shortcut to Google Drive. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, sometimes you'll find you have a file and you want it in 2 different folder locations. So you can actually add a shortcut in another folder, which you wouldn't think would be helpful. I use it so much. So that is how you do that. You add a shortcut. You can also print from here. So if you have any print areas, you can, of course, use some of these other features like emailing the file. Another thing you can do is use some of these edit features, pasting, select all. You can view the file through different modes. So if you want to invite people, once you click on share up at the top right-hand corner, you have the option to choose how you're sharing the document with them. Now, the best thing about using Google Docs is that people can collaborate with you. So they can either edit a whole file, edit the document directly, or just make suggestions. So the other thing you'll find is there are some pretty neat additional features under insert. You can now insert emojis. There's such a thing as called a smart chip that will update depending on the date or the calendar event that's in here. You can also add drop downs, which is kind of wild inside of a Google Doc. There are some building blocks that are in here that allow you to make creating things a little bit more easy. You can add a watermark on top, which is very similar to what you've seen in Word as well. And of course, bookmarks. So those insert features are there. Formatting are traditional formatting tools, and there are under tools, I think the other kind of neat feature is the comparing documents. So you might have 2 versions that you want to show up side by side and be able to compare them. You can do that. And then voice typing is another accessibility feature that I love, whether you need it for accessibility reasons or you're just done typing with your fingers and you just want to go ahead and speak to Google. You can use that as well. Many folks at time have asked about extensions and add-ons. This is how you access those that are here. But don't forget, if you don't find an extension or an add-on you're looking for a specific tool, there is the Chrome store, and some of those extensions are available through Chrome itself. There's a comment history that you might find helpful in here. As you're making comments, you can kind of view the history that has taken place of those comments. You can present straight from Google Docs. I would always go the other way around, where you start up the Google Meet and then you pull up the doc, but whatever. Sharing also, here are those sharing features. So I can actually create a link, share that with anybody, a viewer link, a commenter link, or an editor. I can also add people to here. So I can, just showing up as myself here, I can add myself to the drive to be an editor. I've mentioned this in other tutorial videos, but you can also access your calendar, Google Keep from here, tasks, which we won't really cover, but if you're interested in that, feel free to check that out as a tool. And then Google Maps as well. There also you can add on other things. So that is Google Docs. Another thing we have are Google Sheets. I am going to pull up, we have looked at this file in other tutorials, but Google Sheets, I'm just going to pull down the menu here. This is normally how I work. I'll work with a collapse menu just so I have more, the real estate is on your screen is only so large. So you'll have a lot of the Excel features inside of Sheets as well. You can I think all of those file tools are the same, edit tools are the same. View is where you can find freeze framing, either your columns and your rows. You can also group rows together. This tool has come in so handy for me in the last year. This is under insert. The ability to add pivot tables are in here now, and then charts from this area. Of course, Sheets also has functions. Some neat tools they also have are checkboxes. I use those all the time, as well as drop downs. So you can plug in a drop down of information in order to change the progress on something. Your formatting tools are pretty similar. Most importantly in Excel is changing a value of a particular field, so you can change it from number to finance. You can also use some of those data tools. Most frequently I use data validation in order to color code what's going on in the data. Now they have some new features, if we can see here. Excited about the slicer tool. I actually didn't even know these were in here. Named functions for us to go ahead and choose maybe some of our most frequently used ones, and then data connectors. So I didn't even know those were in there, but there we go. One of the disconnects that I found in Google is creating a form and having a sheet be created with it that isn't a standalone sheet, that's actually in Google. I feel like I have the same issue in Office 365, but this is a way for you to kind of link up, and you'll see this in Forms to link up an Excel sheet with a form. And also extensions are in here too. Same tools up at the top right-hand corner that I mentioned in Docs, and we'll move along. So our other one that's in here is slides. And I do have a slide in here that I believe was shared with me. Now, this is a good opportunity for us to search. So I don't know the name of the file, but I can go ahead and search all the presentations that have been shared with me or that I've created in here. So I'm going to use our 2022 school year, 23 school year. And this was the reason why it's giving me this, it's not an error, it's just a message. It's because this was a PowerPoint that I uploaded and then converted into slides. So I've mentioned this on other videos. The cool thing is that usually you don't have much of an issue other than fonts. So I'm just going to dismiss this. You're going to see this file pretty much looks the same, but here's where like you run into a font issue. The fonts didn't carry over so well, and so now you'll see some PowerPoint elements might be dropped if you continue editing. I usually just say yes, continue editing, and then you can manipulate the fonts however you need to within slides. Why slides? Why not PowerPoint? It's because you want to invite people to collaborate. You want to keep this in a space where you can consistently update it, everything you want in your drive, so that you don't get home and you're not like, oh gosh, that file is on my desktop at school or whatever. So slides and all of the Google tools really come in handy for those reasons. A lot of the tools that are inside of slides are the same as PowerPoint, but you can also import slides from other files. You can go ahead, and editing features are the same. Views are the same. You have grid views. There's also a theme builder. Many people, this is for building a theme. They also have some themes that are already plugged in here. Most people just collapse that window and kind of start from scratch. But if you're looking for some really cool themes, check out Theme Carnival, and they have PowerPoint themes and also Google Slide themes. Insert. This is where things get pretty fun because Google makes it really easy for you to insert video, specifically YouTube videos, and also audio. I've shown this on other tutorial videos, but the diagram feature in here I think is so cool. You'll see diagram pop up in other tools like Google Drawing as well, but I love how they've worked hard at making those really pretty. And then there's also charts too. Now, this is unique to all the Google tools, but you can comment. You can comment on slides just like you're doing in some of the other Google tools as well. I didn't show it in Sheets, but you can comment in Sheets too. Not that that is unique to Excel, but you can also use some of the slide design pieces. You can put transitions between slides, and then you can also change your layout. You can edit your theme. One of the things I wanted to share, I'm going to close this out, is you can change the theme, and that's how you bring up the themes that are loaded inside of slides. Now see how it says import theme? That's another way you can bring in those slide carnival themes. Tools, you can voice type speaker notes. That is a tool that is in Excel, and then all the other tools up at the top right hand corner are the same. All right, so last but not least, I'm not going to go through these other tools because I have touched base on them in other videos, most commonly or most recently the teaching with Google Workspace video. But we'll take a look at forms. I love forms. I'm going to do another one of these searches here for any form that I've created. I have a quiz, and we'll take a look at that in a second. But first, I'm going to pop up this. I'll just pop them both up. We're going to take a look at one of our self-study surveys. And forms has so much functionality. I've used it just to collect data, yes, but then also with QR codes, and anybody can scan them with any device, and then they can contribute their information. You can put in your description up at the top. You can also include links in there so people can look at a website before they actually complete what you're asking them to complete. You can put in section headings, and then also there are all sorts of different question types that you can use. I've mentioned in other videos that I've used it for placement exams and in language courses, and you can have all of the quantitative questions up front, and then at the end students have to upload a video or audio clip of them orally speaking the language. So those are really neat things, I think, that are easily accessible inside of the Google Form tool. All right, so that, I'm just going to delete, sorry, just fumbling around looking for what I'm looking for here. Let's go through the other tools here. So responses is where we see the response. Remember when I was showing Sheets and I said, oh, sometimes the connection between Sheets and Forms has gotten confusing. They've cleaned this up a lot. So now you can view the responses in Sheets, which you want to do because you want to be able to create pivot tables from there. Or you want to be able to manipulate the data, or you want to, and here's an example of that. So what I've done is I've added tabs on my sheet in order to create those pivot tables of data so that we can see, okay, listen, how many realistically are we talking when we say exceeds or does not meet? And what's the percentage there? I love color coding just to be able to see each standard separately. So those are down at the bottom. You can color code those. But these results are spilling into that data and then updating those pivot tables as well. You can look at by question or by individual. Of course, on an anonymous survey, it's not going to tell you who it was, but you can look at, hey, this is person number 2 who took this one. Of course, you can print and throw pieces out from there. Your settings are pretty limited in here. However, one thing you may want to change is how you're collecting responses. We're going to get to quizzes in a second. This is how you convert your survey to a quiz, and then how it has different functionality to make it quiz-like. And then you can also change your presentation. Sometimes if you have a lot going on, you can show a progress bar. That is really it. If you're inside of your organization, you can collect email addresses, and that I think is helpful because sometimes people forget to put their name. You can change the theme, so you can choose a color, or you can upload your own image to the top like I did. And I apologize, you're going to hear my radiator start clicking in a minute. So that image up at the top is one that I created. I uploaded from Canva. And then you can change your text style from here too. But of course, you can choose a kind of background using just sort of the theme tools. If I want to preview the quiz or the survey, this is what it looks like. You just use that little I up at the top. If I want to send it to folks, what I'm really going for here, you can write a message. You can put in a subject and send it to people from here. You can also add editors who can help you to edit the questions inside of here. Normally I don't do this. I don't use this tab. I'll go straight for this right here and I'll grab that link. If I'm pasting it inside of an email, I make it prettier by making it shorter. So I'll grab that shortened URL. You can also embed this somewhere like on a website or a web page. And then there's also the ability to make copies. You can also add collaborators from here. And there are some add-ons for surveys as well. Now, remember earlier I showed you how you can convert this to a quiz through the settings. This is how this would be slightly different. So we can add our question choices, but then we have this option here for an answer key. And we can select the right answer, we can assign points, and then click done. I like that you can add answer feedback. People have gotten super creative with this feedback. You can upload a video to YouTube and then that will be your answer or your feedback for students if they get the incorrect answer or if they get the correct answer. So you can get really creative with how you're delivering feedback, and you can send students on links that they have to reread information. And then you get a total amount of points, you have your responses, and then your settings. Now, once you've created it here, you can link it to Google Classroom. You can also be in Google Classroom and create a new quiz from there as well. Same functionality. All right, so that completes our brief training on Google Drive specifically for teaching, but all of that is applicable to other folks as well. So staff can also leverage Google tools in their own everyday work and work with each other. All right, so great luck with using these Google tools, and I can't wait to hear about what you create.